Welcome to Better Equipped. I'm Cody Balch, and I want to share with you something that actually I taught back in the fall of 2020. It has nothing to do with the pandemic. It has something to do with the conversation, questions people have that are timeless and true. And it's this apologetics topic, this explaining systematically of the Christian faith, of a 4-part series that I did called Prove It. Can you prove that Christianity is true? And so there's 4 parts. Does truth exist? Does God exist? Are miracles possible? And is the Bible reliable? And so I hope that this will better equip you and be a blessing to your faith. Last week we looked at, does truth exist? And the premise of this series is all 4 of these questions must be true for Christianity to be true. The answer must be yes to these questions. If just one of these questions, the answer is no, Christianity is a waste of your time. Drum roll, please. Okay, no? So this is a big deal. Now, if you're sitting there, I don't know where all of you are at. If you're sitting there and you're looking at this list and you're saying, thank you, Cody, but I already believe the answer is yes to those. I've already been on that journey. Great. I am so glad. I hope this series helps equip you better to share the truth that you believe with others, that you're more equipped. Think of it through that lens, okay? It's not, knowledge is not, biblical knowledge especially, is not just for you to be smarter. It's for you to have more to metabolize, more to use and put into action to help other people, okay? So maybe you're hearing things that you already know or believe. Can you explain that to someone else? Have you ever taught something? You always learn something more when you have to teach it. Are you prepared to share it in that way? Do you know it at that level? And it's not that you have to be an expert at it. If you're hungry, you will learn it. If you're hungry to learn, if you want to be ready, then you will take the initiative it takes to learn whatever it is you want to learn. And so I believe all of you are smart enough by a lot to figure these things out. So today we look at, does God exist? What a fundamental, foundational question. And yet we'll see today that this isn't, it's kind of like truth. This isn't, from an evidence reason standpoint, this is really clear to find out. Really clear to find out. Our sermon in a sentence is this: the better question isn't if God exists, which we'll answer that today. We'll look at that. The better question isn't if God exists, but which God you've chosen to serve. The Apostle Paul puts it this way in Romans chapter 1, verse 25. They, meaning humanity, most of humanity, they exchanged the truth about God for a lie. Is it a good trade-off? No, nobody likes to exchange things for lies. Okay? But they've exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshiped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Again, the question isn't if God exists. We'll see that, the evidence for that. But which God you've chosen to serve. Do you believe that there is a God? Period. Don't even take it further yet. I mean, you can. I hope you do personally. Who is that God? What is he all about? What does he call me to? But are we just from nothing? Was there no beginning? Is it just stardust being mashed together just with chance to make us? Or is there a designer that's put all this in place? Again, Romans 1:25. Now, you say, okay, Cody, you're reading the Bible. What do the scientists say? There's a lot of voices out there, a lot of other opinions. I would say, actually, only kinda. Okay, let's look at some scientists, okay? I don't know if you've heard of this guy. He's a new guy on the block, Albert Einstein. No, No, I mean, wouldn't you say he's probably one of the best minds of our time? Most people would agree with that. He's still ahead of his time in many ways. He's just crazy ways thinking. This is what he says. The more I study science, the more I believe in God. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said a lot of things about God because of what that just says. The more he dived into science, he realized God is not anti-science. I've said this last week and I'll say it again. God is not anti-science. He is the one who created it. And the deeper you dive into science, the more you see his fingerprints on everything. He says, no, I don't just believe. I want to know how, not if, how God created this world. Is he on the fence here? Is Albert Einstein? But he believes in science, and he's the best mathematician, one of the best in our time. No, I want to know how God created this world. I am not interested in this or that phenomenon, in the spectrum of this or that element. I want to know his thoughts. The rest are details. It's not a question to Albert Einstein if there is a God. Who is he? What does he think? What does he want? What's our purpose? Why did he do it? It's a very different question from a scientist. There's more, many, many more Nobel Peace Prize winners. And this guy, Alexander Vilenkin, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it looks like it, with the proof now in place, cosmologist, not cosmetologist, very different. He is not a very good cosmetologist. With the proof now in place, cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe, meaning there was never a beginning, it was just matter that was forever there. There is now no escape. They have to face the problem. This is a problem for him and many others who don't want there to be a God. There is now no escape. They have to face the problem of a cosmic beginning. We're going to look at that in more detail. What about this guy, another Nobel Peace Prize winner, Arno Penzias? The best data we have concerning the Big Bang, he's looking at the evidence. The best data we have concerning the Big Bang are exactly what I would have predicted had I had nothing to go on except for the 5 books of Moses, the Psalms, and the Bible as a whole. He just described Old and New Testament, everything. He says, if I were to just start with the Bible and what it said about creation, and then I looked at the evidence, there's no better explanation that matches. He says these are not in conflict. This guy's not a Christian. This is not in conflict. It's not a question of if there's a God, it's which one do you serve and do you want to serve and know the one true God. What about this guy? Robert Wilson, another Nobel Peace Prize winner. Certainly there was something that set it all off, this Big Bang. I can't think of a better theory of the origin of the universe to match Genesis. A non-believer, a non-Christian saying, it matches exactly what we find. This is crazy. How about this one? This is another Nobel Peace Prize winner as well. There is no doubt that a parallel exists. That is not my digestion. That is a hose. It's a gurgling. It's like, I'm hungry for lunch. No. That's an exciting sound right there. There is no doubt that a parallel exists between the Big Bang as an event and the Christian notion of creation from nothing. Nothing. There was a beginning. We're going to look at that in more detail. Like, there was a beginning. Where did it come from? Where did all this matter? Where did the stardust even come from? This is my favorite one. You might have heard this one before. I don't know. For the scientist who has lived by his faith, you can't escape faith. What's your faith in? For the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, his story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountains of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak, and as he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries. Things that they are struggling so hard to get these answers. Will science answer? Again, don't be anti-science. That's not what we're talking about. They will admit science does not answer. They will say it is an answerable question by scientific methods. Because you're left with something that had to have a cause, but had no matter, no time, and no space to create it. Scientifically, they're hamstrung. There has to be something. And he says the theologians have been talking about this for centuries, millennia. This isn't new. It ends like a bad dream if your hope is in science alone to answer the deeper meanings of life. It doesn't work that way. So three things that we're going to look at to say, does God exist? What is the evidence, okay? So the first thing is the beginning. Where did it all come from? Okay, let's give you the benefit of the doubt for a second if you're a skeptic. Okay, the Big Bang. Okay, there was this matter floating in space, and then something happened. Bam! It happened, and then there was a goo, and there was this goo thing, and these cells, this one-celled organism, and it multiplied into a multiple-celled organism, and then it multiplied, and it changed species, and then let's just say that, okay, I don't believe that. Let's say that that's exactly the way it happened. Where did it come from? You say, whoa, hey, hang on, Cody. Where did God come from? Great question. No idea. He's eternal. I don't understand that. God's made it. You cannot escape the question of some eternal state that put time and space into existence. Are you real? Do you exist? Can you pinch your arm for a second? Do you believe you're real? There's some people like, no, I am a figment of my imagination. Where's your imagination come from? Like, I don't even know how you think about you. If you're not real, then how are you thinking about you not being real? Where did it come from? You cannot escape. There is something. This is the way I'll describe it, actually. I thought this out that I actually put it on the screen. You either have to land in one of these two categories. Either no one created something out of nothing, or someone created something out of nothing. Because something came out of nothing. And science has no answer for it. Does that mean that Christianity is true all by itself? No. No, not at all. But it's a massive, massive block in the foundation of what we believe. And that we believe that this beginning had a beginner, and this beginner, God, the creator, had a purpose for all of his creation. I want to know his thoughts, Albert Einstein would say. Because that's a big deal. If you have the power to create all things, that's a big deal. Who are you? I believe that someone created something out of nothing, and that is a miracle, but science has no explanation for it. Stephen Hawking, one of the most renowned atheists in the world, who is not really an atheist, he is more of an agnostic because of things like this. Almost everyone now believes that the universe and time itself had a beginning at the Big Bang, meaning it had to have a start. It's not always been there. Where did it come from? He's saying, and he's was the most well-connected atheist and scientist in the world. For him to say almost everyone, meaning everyone in the scientific community, almost everyone now believes that the universe and time itself had a beginning at the Big Bang. That's a big deal. They're saying that there has to be a beginning, and we have nothing. We have no shred of evidence to say what it was. This is where it's not a question of, is there a God? Now, the second thing is precision. Probably my favorite to talk about, like just to talk about. I wish I had more time. I hope maybe you'll discuss, or if you have ideas or thoughts or things that God's shown you as well. But the precision of creation, of the existence of all of the universe, is so precisely fine-tuned for life. If just out of 100 dials, if just one of those dials is off, life does not exist. We see this on other planets. It's not the right conditions. Well, you say, wait. There are so many galaxies. If you do the math, there's a chance. No, not mathematically. It's not a good chance. And we're here, and you look at the complexity of every detail of, we don't just have life like one little shred of life exists. Like they're looking for is there an amoeba? Is there a one-celled organism in the dust if you dig in the, maybe, I don't know. That'd be cool, maybe. I don't know. We have the complexity of life just in this room. It's amazing. Now, if you're out in the Sahara Desert, which you shouldn't be, that's a bad place to be stranded. But if you were out in the Saharan Desert, there's sand everywhere, and all of a sudden you look down, half buried, you see this pocket watch, and you pick it up, and you look at it, and you open it up, it's ticking. It's on time. Somehow you have a watch that's also keeping time that you brought with you, and you look at it. There's this pocket watch. And on the back, there's a name. Cody Balch is what it says. It's random. I don't know. And it's naturally, you look at this, you pick it up out of the sand. Naturally, you're thinking, with enough billions of years in this sand pit, with the sand coming together and moving in the right direction, with enough billions of years, it would form this watch and the inside to create something that would keep time very consistently and have my name on the back. Wouldn't you think that? That's a natural conclusion that you would say as you see this pocket watch, that there's no way it was designed, it's in the middle of a desert, like our planet is in the middle of this the universe, that you would look at it and say, well, it has to, you give it enough time, there's chance. There's a bad chance. In fact, I would say there's no chance. No, would you say there's a chance? I'll give you as much time. You name the time. You name how long you want it to. I'm just, make up the number. Just one of those. How many people in this room? I don't know. How about all those people? Is it time and chance? Is it? You get to choose. I don't have enough faith to believe in something that abstract and unplausible. I believe that is too complex, too specific for a purpose. That watch has a purpose. It is too specific, it's too complex to happen by chance. It had a designer. It had a designer. You look at something like the human body, and I'm not the expert at this, but any of you can think of things that you know about the human body that are mind-boggling, even the things that we can explain scientifically. Again, those scientific discoveries help us see the amazing handprint of God. The human eye, that can be explained to some degree, of course. We actually have somebody in here with the parents that are optometrists. We can know it to some degree, but can you create it? Can a human make that? You say, no. You can't get cameras to do what this eye does. You can't. Even great cameras, that just the complexity of how it then takes in light and knows depth and space and color for some of us. Some of us are colorblind. I know some colorblind people. And it takes us in and processes it in a way that sends it to more tissue, this gelatin tissue inside your head, and you connect it to the world around you. So in a split second, if you're healthy, you can dodge things. You can react to things. It's amazing. Is this random chance with given enough billions of years? This is just one piece, one tiny piece of the human body alone. Then you think of things in the universe. Our sun. You think of, if we were just a hair closer to the sun, we burn up and life does not exist. You move a little bit further away, we are frozen. We're a frozen block of ice. We don't exist. By chance, or did someone place it exactly where it needs to be? That giant burning ball of lava fire. Seriously. Now, what about this one? This one's fun. Gravity, okay? This is a picture of Adam Kennedy after he slipped on the water that he was trying to fill the baptistry. We just happened to catch it on our live stream. Gravity, if you stretch a tape measure, okay, this is a little figurative to get the concept across. If you were to take a tape measure and stretch it from one end of the known universe, they haven't found the end, and you take the other end and you put it at the other end of the known universe, that means as far as we can see with a telescope, it just keeps going. And you just take the known universe on a regular tape measure, that'd be a long one, and you put in the middle a line. Gravity. If you moved gravity, the sensitivity of gravity, if you moved it 1 inch to the left or 1 inch to the right, life does not exist. Awesome chance, unbelievable chance that we just happen to be the recipients of, or did someone put it there? There are so many, many more of these dials that we could talk about. The fine tuning. Now again, Stephen Hawking, he gets a double dose today. If the expansion rate, when the Big Bang happened, boom, everything explodes, that rate of outward pressure and movement, if the rate of expansion, the expansion rate of the universe was different by 1 part in 1,000 million million. Okay, I'll give you a second. Go ahead, please. Get your head around that real quick. 1,000 million million. If it's different by 1 part in 1,000 million million, just 1 second after the Big Bang, the universe would have collapsed back in on itself and never developed galaxies. Wow. It's that particular. It's more particular than your spouse. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm the particular one. No, this is crazy. Again, this fine-tuning of the universe is too specific for life. Just one of them going off, it affects the whole thing. In a space shuttle, if you're in outer space in a space shuttle, just one dial going wrong is a big deal for life, for the existence of life. Okay? This matters greatly. Was it chance? I believe not. I believe the evidence would lead to, even mathematically, that it is implausible. It doesn't, you can't have enough faith to believe that. It's actually more plausible by the evidence that it had a beginner who created it with a purpose and dialed it in and put it exactly where he wants it. You get to make that call for yourself if you believe that or not. But look at it. I love seeing the grandeur of God's creation and how it points us to Jesus. Explore it. It will point you more and more to our Creator God. Now, the third one is interesting. You say, hang on, morality. First of all, we covered that a little bit last week. I thought we were going to look at science. I feel like, does God exist? Isn't that a scientific question? The scientists would say, no, this is not a scientific question. The science, you will never be able to have proof scientifically, by the scientific method of how something came from nothing. It's not a material question. And they've admitted this. They would say the science actually lends, as we saw earlier, it lends itself to show that the science actually points to what we believe from the Bible. It's really a question of morality. It's really a question of what you think about that God. Do you want to serve him? Do you want to know him and be known by him? He knows you. This is really something that we have to wrestle with. It's about objective thought process and morality and values. So think about this. If God does not exist, there's no such thing as evil. There is no such thing as right and wrong because there is no standard. In fact, C.S. Lewis, now, how many of you have ever heard of C.S. Lewis? Not a trick question, but most of you probably heard of C.S. Lewis. One of the most prolific writers, most of you probably think of as a Christian author. That is true. He died at a young age of like 44, I believe. He made a lot of, he was an atheist for much of his adult life. And he says this, he speaks about it a lot. He created so much content in just a short time since he became a Christian to when he died at a young age. It's unbelievable to think what he would have created if he would have lived much longer. As an atheist, he says, my argument against God was that the universe seems so cruel and unjust. Is that a scientific statement? That the universe seems so cruel and unjust. It had nothing to do with anything science. But how had I gotten this idea of just and unjust? How did I even come to? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of what a straight line is, a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I called it unjust? The concept of evil itself, there must be good. There must be something else. If there is no God, then there was no distinction. Hitler wasn't bad or wrong if there is no God. Because how do you prove that he was wrong? Based upon what standard? Your standard? What about Hitler's standard? Doesn't it matter? No. I know he was wrong. I always pick on him, right? I don't feel bad picking on him. How do we know? If there is no God, there is no standard. Not at least an absolute standard. We talked about that last week. There are no human rights. You are not owed anything by anybody else. You are a ball of matter and dust with no purpose. You were created with no purpose because you weren't created. You just happened, and you happened in the way you did, and you are in this dogfight of survival of the fittest. Nobody owes you anything, and you can't prove it otherwise. Do you believe that? What is the standard at which we in our known universe should believe that certain things are okay or not? And this really bothers people when wrong happens to them, when they are wronged. Then they suddenly believe in right and wrong and good and evil. This, you can make it theoretical all you want until something happens to you, and it happens probably more frequently than you'd like. And then you suddenly believe in this. What is your standard? Why should I also care, like you, that you were wronged? Based upon what? This is not a scientific argument, but scientists are making it clear that the science points to a creator, a beginning, and the complexity points to it, but there is something else deep inside of us that we want purpose, that we want there to be something that is right and wrong, and we want there to be just and unjust because we need just things to be done for us. But most people are just angry. Most people that I've talked to personally who would say they're atheists, usually they're not. They're just angry at the God that they think of when they think of God. They don't want a God or anyone else telling them what to do. The question is not if there's a God. The question is, what God have you chosen to serve? This is really the matter. This is really what it's about when does God exist? We've looked at these two. Does truth exist? Does God exist? I hope it helps you along that journey in your journey of faith, wherever you're starting. And I hope it equips you to think more critically and with evidence, reasonable evidence and reason of mind, to think that this is not a blind faith question. All directions require faith. They require you to engage in faith. That's why scientists even use the word. But what's the evidence point to for your reason that you believe that it is God and not just any God, that they're saying, no, it's consistent with the biblical Christian God, that what we see in evidence actually aligns with that? Do you understand why you believe what you believe? Where are you at with that? Colossians chapter 1, starting at verse 15, we'll have a few slides of this. It says, the Son, meaning Jesus, is the image of the invisible God. That if you want to see God, Jesus says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. That's what he says in John 14. If you've seen me, then you've seen the Father. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Hang on, okay. So you're saying that Jesus created? No, look. For in him all things were created. In Jesus, all things were created. He's not the created being. He is the creator. Things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. Who's the him? Jesus. He goes on and says, for he is before all things. He's before creation. And in him all things hold together. All those dials that keep you alive and give you the opportunity to know your creator, to know who he is, all of those things are held together by Jesus. Without him, life does not exist because he is life. Verse 18, and he is the head of the body. He's in charge. He's the head of the body, the church. You know, it's talking about creation, hey, and the church. The church is not a man-made idea, folks. The people of God are the body of Jesus here on earth, and Jesus is in charge, and he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy, that he's Lord over all of it. He created it, and he's in charge. For God was pleased to have all his fullness. Say, wait, is there God and then baby God Jesus? No. What is it? No. God says God was pleased to have all of his fullness dwell in the body of this man named Jesus. The Creator himself became a man because he loved us. He created you with a purpose. He created you not randomly and detached. He created you with an intimate love for you, to chase you down on this ball of dust called earth in the midst of our sins. And through him, verse 20, to reconcile to himself all things, to bring things back together. All the things that we had broken, he says, I want to make new. I want to make you new. I love you. Whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace, this reconciliation, by making peace. Even though we had rejected God, even though we had sinned against God, we have went our own way and done our own thing by our own flesh. He says, I am making peace and reconciling you through his blood shed on the cross. Amen. This Creator is not even just this higher power, this consciousness of thought. He's thinking of you right now. He's been thinking about you before you were you on this earth. And he has something amazing in store for you after this life if you choose to love and follow him. Because he says, I loved you so much that I not only created you, but before you were born, I created this world in a way that I also created this tree that would reproduce and have this tree, and so on and so forth, till one day that tree would be cut down and it would be taken to a hill that I created so that I would be nailed on that tree for you. On my creation, who had sinned against me, my creation, who should obey and love me because of who I am, who rejected me in their sins, and the sins deserved death. I took it on my tree that I created, on my hill that I created, for all the people that I created. This God is specific. This God wants you to know him. He wants you to love him too, but he will not make you. And that, my friends, is why the world is unjust in our eyes. Because we, by our flesh, make it unjust. We are the people doing the unjust things. The messes are things that we have created. And yes, he gave us the freedom, but he did not make us do it. And he is not making you today continue to live in sin any longer apart from his will and design. He is calling you into not only forgiveness, but a way to know him in a way that will change your life, bring transformation. The question is, who do you serve? Is it you? Does your life exist? Did God create you for you? Did God create you to serve his created things, to chase after money, to chase after possessions, to chase after status, to chase after power, to chase after what Is that why God created you? No. Those things, if you have the blessing to receive them, and you will, at various levels, are given to you as a gift by your Creator to be used for Him, so that you can know Him more and make Him more known to the world around you. Do you believe that? Is He who you serve? Is He the God that you serve? If you need to take this doesn't answer everything. If you're at a place where you go, oh, whoa, hang on, I got a lot of questions. Good, let's talk about it. Don't leave them at questions. Let's get answers. If this God exists, He's got answers for you. He's not afraid of your questions. Lean in. If you already believe this, then how are you stewarding everything you have, of the created things, you and everything else in this earth that God has put under your care for? How are you stewarding it for Him as the Creator? What is your purpose? Because without God, there is no purpose. They will openly admit that. There isn't. Just fight on your own for yourself as long as you live, and then you stop existing. That is not the truth. Just like there was someone before it all, there is someone that you will meet at the end of it all. And you will look this Creator God, this supreme being, in the eyes, and He wants it to be the eyes of love and not wrath, saying, well done, good and faithful servant. You see me, I've been evident all over creation. I'm right here. I love you. Come in. I've created a new perfect creation for you to enjoy forever. It never gets boring or old, and there's no pain or sin or sadness or death. I love you. This Creator loves you. Do you believe that this morning? Guys, there are people who are coming to know this. There are people who are coming to believe this. And whether you've already believed that and known that, or maybe you haven't, I pray that you will take a step in that. That you'll come closer to your Creator God. That you'll make Him more known to the people around you. If you have questions that's holding you back from taking that step of giving your life to Jesus, you have to make the declaration. Don't ride the fence. He's the only way, truth, and life. We looked at that last week. Salvation is only found in Him. Reconciliation, forgiveness of sins is only found in Jesus. It is by His grace that we are saved, not by our works, so that no one can boast. He has created us for His purposes. Are you living into that? Live into that. We want to encourage you in that. We want to help encourage you and inspire you to live into it.